The Imperial Precepts to the soldiers and sailors. The forces of our empire are in all ages under the command of the Emperor. It is more than 25 centuries since the Emperor Jimmu leading in person the soldiers of the Otomo and Mononobe clans subjugated the unruly tribes of the land and ascended the imperial throne to rule the whole country. During this period the military system has undergone frequent changes in accordance with those in the state of society. In ancient times the rule was that the emperor should take personal command of the forces, and although the military authority was sometimes delegated to the empress or to the prince imperial, it was scarcely ever entrusted to a subject. In the Middle Ages, when the civil and military institutions were framed after the Chinese model, the 6 guards were founded, the right and left horse bureau established, and other organizations, such as that of the Coast Guards, created. The military system was thus completed, but, habituated to a prolonged state of peace, the imperial court gradually lost its administrative vigor. In course of time soldiers and farmers became distinct classes, and the early conscription system was replaced by an organization of volunteers, which finally produced the military class. The military power passed over entirely to the leaders of this class. Through disturbances in the empire the political power also fell into their hands, and for about 7 centuries the military families held sway. Although these results followed from changes in the state of society and were beyond human control, they were deeply to be deplored, since they were contrary to the fundamental character of our empire and to the law of our imperial ancestors. Later on, in the eras of Koka and Ka, the decline of the Tokugawa shogunate and the new aspect of foreign relations even threatened to impair our national dignity, causing no small anxiety to our august grandfather, the Emperor Ninka, and our august father, the Emperor Komai, a fact which we recall with awe and gratitude. When in youth we succeeded to the imperial throne, the shogun returned into our hands the administrative power, and all the feudal lords their fiefs. Thus, in a few years, our entire realm was unified and the ancient regime restored. Due as this was to the meritorious services of our loyal officers and wise counselors, civil and military, and to the abiding influence of our ancestors' benevolence towards the people, yet it must also be attributed to our subjects' true sense of loyalty and their conviction of the importance of great righteousness. In consideration of these things, being desirous of reconstructing our military system and of enhancing the glory of our empire, we have in the course of the last 15 years established the present system of the Army and Navy. The supreme command of our forces is in our hands, and although we may entrust subordinate commands to our subjects, yet the ultimate authority we ourselves shall hold and never delegate to any subject. It is our will that this principle be carefully handed down to posterity and that the Emperor always retain the supreme civil and military power, so that the disgrace of the Middle and succeeding ages may never be repeated. Soldiers and sailors, we are your supreme commander-in-chief. Our relations with you will be most intimate when we rely upon you as our limbs and you look up to us as your head. Whether we are able to guard the empire, and so prove ourselves worthy of heaven's blessings and repay the benevolence of our ancestors, depends upon the faithful discharge of your duties as soldiers and sailors. Majesty and power of our empire be impaired, do you share with us the sorrow. If the glory of our arms shine resplendent, we will share with you the honor. If you all do your duty, and being one with us in spirit do your utmost for the protection of the state, our people will long enjoy the blessings of peace, and the might and dignity of our empire will shine in the world. As we thus expect much of you, soldiers and sailors, we give you the following precepts. 1. The soldier and sailor should consider loyalty their essential duty. Who that is born in this land can be wanting in the spirit of grateful service to it? No soldier or sailor, especially, can be considered efficient unless this spirit be strong within him. A soldier or a sailor in whom this spirit is not strong, however skilled in art or proficient in science, is a mere puppet, and a body of soldiers or sailors wanting in loyalty, however well ordered and disciplined it may be, is in an emergency no better than a rabble. Remember that, as the protection of the state and the maintenance of its power depend upon the strength of its arms, the growth or decline of this strength must affect the nation's destiny good or for evil. Therefore neither be led astray by current opinions nor meddle in politics, but with single heart fulfill your essential duty of loyalty, and bear in mind that duty is weightier than a mountain, while death is lighter than a feather. Never by failing in moral principle fall into disgrace and bring dishonor upon your name. 2. The soldier and the sailor should be strict in observing propriety. Soldiers and sailors are organized in grades, from the marshal and admiral of the fleet down to the private soldier or ordinary seaman, and even within the same rank and grade there are differences in seniority of service according to which juniors should submit to their seniors. Inferiors should regard the orders of their superiors as issuing directly from us. Always pay due respect not only to your superiors but also to your seniors, even though not serving under them. On the other hand, superiors should never treat their inferiors with contempt or arrogance, except when official duty requires them to be strict and severe. Superiors should treat their inferiors with consideration, making kindness their chief aim, so that all grades may unite in their service to the emperor. If you, soldiers and sailors, neglect to observe propriety, treating your superiors with disrespect and your inferiors with harshness, and thus cause harmonious cooperation to be lost, you will not only be a blight upon the forces but also be unpardonable offenders against the state. 3. The soldier and sailor should esteem valor. Ever since the ancient times valor has in our country been held in high esteem, and without it our subjects would be unworthy of their name. How then may the soldier and the sailor, whose profession it is to confront the enemy in battle, forget even for one instant to be valiant? But there is true valor and false. To be incited by mere impetuosity to violent action cannot be called true valor. The soldier and the sailor should have sound discrimination of right and wrong, cultivate self-possession, and form their plans with deliberation. Never to despise an inferior enemy or fear a superior, but to do one's duty as soldier or sailor, this true valor. Those who thus appreciate true valor should in their daily intercourse set gentleness first and aim to win the love and esteem of others. If you affect valor and act with violence, the world will in the end detest you and look upon you as wild beasts. Of this you should take heed. 4. The soldier and the sailor should highly value faithfulness and righteousness. Faithfulness and righteousness are the ordinary duties of man, but the soldier and the sailor, in particular, cannot be without them and remain in the ranks even for a day. faithfulness implies the keeping of one's word, and righteousness the fulfillment of one's duty. If then you wish to be faithful and righteous in anything, you must carefully consider at the outset whether you can accomplish it or not. If you thoughtlessly agree to do something that is vague in its nature and bind yourself to unwise obligations, and then try to prove yourself faithful and righteous, you may find yourself in great straits from which there is no escape. In such cases your regrets will be of no avail. Hence you must first make sure whether the thing righteous and reasonable or not. If you are convinced that you cannot possibly keep your word and maintain righteousness, you had better abandon your engagement at once. Ever since the ancient times there have been repeated instances of great men and heroes who, overwhelmed by misfortune, have perished and left a tarnished name to posterity, simply because in their effort to be faithful in small matters they failed to discern right and wrong with reference to fundamental principles, or because, losing sight of the true path of public duty, they kept faith in private relations. You should, then, take serious warning by these examples. 5. The soldier and sailor should make simplicity their aim. If you do not make simplicity your aim, you will become effeminate and frivolous and acquire fondness for luxurious and extravagant ways. You will finally grow selfish and sordid and sink to the last degree of baseness, so that neither loyalty nor valor will avail to save you from the contempt of the world. It is not too much to say that you will thus fall into a lifelong misfortune. If such an evil once makes its will certainly spread like an epidemic, and martial spirit and morale will instantly decline. Although, being greatly concerned on this point, we lately issued the disciplinary regulations and warned you against this evil, nevertheless, being harassed with anxiety lest it should break out, we hereby reiterate our warning. Never do you, soldiers and sailors, make light of this injunction. These 5 articles should not be disregarded even for a moment by soldiers and sailors. Now for putting them into practice, the all-important thing is sincerity. These 5 articles are the soul of our soldiers and sailors, and sincerity is the soul of these articles. If the heart be not sincere, words and deeds, however good, are all mere outward show and can avail nothing. If only the heart be sincere, anything can be accomplished. Moreover, these 5 articles are the grand way of heaven and earth and the universal law of humanity, easy to observe and to practice. If you, soldiers and sailors, in obedience to our instruction, will observe and practice these principles and fulfill your duty of grateful service to the country, it will be a source of joy, not to ourselves alone, but to all the people of Japan. The 4th day of the 1st month of the 15th year Meiji. Imperial Sign Manual.